Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review of The Traitors Season 3, Episode 10. We are getting very, very close to the end of the franchise, and this is where every muscle in our body has to be clenching. The tension is rising. We have a big, dramatic cliffhanger.
Yeah, and it really does feel that way. I mean, sometimes, of course, they play around with editing where you're like, is this really happening or not? But the thing that I love about Brittany in general, watching her on Big Brother and watching her here, is that she's not that great of hiding her emotions when things are actually really shocking to her.
Yeah.
So everything that's going on at this round table, I'm just like, it really feels like she wrote down Danielle.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about whether or not we are seeing Big Brother Reindeer Games 2.0 here with Brittany, where she is having to get one over on Danielle. She's clearly not taking any pleasure in this. I mean, they want us to be left thinking about this for a long period of time.
Absolutely. They have been setting this up since the beginning to be like, here's this beef, here's where it was, this is all about it. Here they are making amends. Now they really trust each other. Here they are together. And is it happening again?
It's a really good cliffhanger from an emotional sense. Even if a lot of us are like 90% confident as to what's going to happen on the other side of it. And let us know in the comments if you don't think that Brittany is going to get rid of Danielle in this instance. It just feels like that's probably going to happen. But what makes this situation all the more interesting is, at least to me, it feels like this could have been avoided for a few different reasons. There are some questionable decisions that were made over the course of this episode, but also some interesting ones that I don't even think we have all of the proper context of just yet.
Yeah.
Before we get anywhere close to end all of that, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I know the end of The Traitors Season 3 is almost upon us. But guess what? Yesterday, Survivor 48 premiered. It's already a pretty fun season. There's a great cast over there. I mean, it's kind of ironic that we're sitting here at this point in The Traitors and there's no Survivor contestants even left.
Yeah, I know.
But we're really enjoying covering Survivor so far, and we highly suggest you check that video out for more reality TV fun here at the channel.
Yeah, we're also going to be covering The Amazing Race that's coming up next week. There's so much reality TV going on here at the channel. We're also really close to hitting 70,000 subscribers here at the channel, and it is my birthday tomorrow.
Yay!
So if you want to give me a little birthday gift, just hit that subscribe button and stick with us through that. You can also follow us over on our Patreon for more discussion on The Traitors, Survivor, The Amazing Race, all that good stuff, plus exclusive videos of 2 shows that we are covering over there every week. And it is The Pit, that is airing on Max, and Prime Target, that is airing on Apple TV Plus. So thank you so much to everyone who has.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate that.
Okay, before we get into everything, Tom was murdered, and his speech sitting in that chair where he was like, I was a pleasure to work with. I'm like, bro, are you good? I don't understand what is happening with this guy. I have not seen him before this show, so I don't have a past where I know what type of person he is, except for what's been out in the tabloids and what you guys have told me. But he's so delusional. I was a pleasure to work with. I was like, I don't understand where you are in your mind that you were a pleasure to work with and that you were so good at this game.
I don't need Tom Sandoval to play again. Let's make that very, very clear. But I need more people that are that delusional to come into The Traitors. And the funniest thing is, I don't think Mr. Spectacular is actually delusional. I just think it's a character. But I think
do too.
Jesse,
he's so fun.
Come on The Traitors, play that character. But okay, I'm of two minds here when it comes to Sandoval. There is the personal part of me who is overjoyed that this guy is out of the game, that is overjoyed the hearing Alan say for once in his life he was a faithful. Like, that brought me so much happiness.
So funny. Alan's on fire this season.
However, ... this was a bad decision by Brittany and Danielle. And I say this out of love because I want nothing more than to see Brittany Haynes win a reality TV show. I have loved her for so many years. But here's the thing. You should have gotten rid of Gabby.
Yes.
In this situation, 100%, because Gabby,
100.
she's independent. she's really, really smart. She's not going to back down from things. You already know that Tom is so delusional that he was voting for Dolores. I know that it might have been hard to get Tom to target somebody who is not Dolores at this upcoming roundtable, but here's what you can do to Tom that you can't do to Gabby. Hey, Tom, you're so smart. I love you. You're so funny. You can guess
I
this.
love you. Nobody's saying that to Tom except
Your music
Tom.
is great. I love your
there you
singing voice. You can gas this man up in a way you cannot gas up Gabby.
They made a huge mistake. Gabby was absolutely going to be coming after Danielle. They knew it.
Yeah.
Tom, yeah, he's sniffing around Danielle, but Tom is somebody that can be moved in different directions and nobody believes him.
Yeah.
And him and Dolores were going to go after each other. We just saw it. They were going to continue doing that.
Yeah.
You can't really work that well with Dolores, as we've already seen. She's doing her own thing. Tom's kind of doing his own thing. So at that point, then it's like, okay, well, where can we get votes from? Because they know for sure they do not have Gabby's vote. There is no way to get her out. But there is a way to get Tom out because nobody likes him. And you already know that Dolores is probably going to vote for him.
Okay, here's just a little tinfoil hat theory. Did they not want to get rid of Gabby in this instance because she did have this conversation that there was a traitor on traitor scenario going on at the last round table, and if she was then gone, then there might be suspicion that it's like, oh, did somebody take rid of Gabby because of this conversation? Or like, I just think they overthought it.
The same thing came up anyways with Tom.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, well, Tom also mentioned something very similar and now Tom is gone. That was Gabby's argument. So, I mean, it wasn't going to matter which person it was.
Yeah, I don't think that they got rid of Tom just because nobody likes Tom. Like, I know that's an easy argument to make, but I just think Danielle and Brittany are smarter than that.
I think they underestimated how smart Gabby is, how well she's able to put together an argument, because the argument that she gave Dylan where she was like, yeah, there's this traitor on traitor thing. There's this thing where I was coming into the bar and then there was nobody. And then all of a sudden I heard their voices. There's this, there's that. You know, I was just like, wow, okay, I already liked Gabby and she was already trying to put things together, but now that she has like wall-to-wall evidence that it is Danielle, it was just, they made the wrong choice, 100%. Tom was never going to be able to lay out his evidence in a way that people were going to believe.
No, Gabby is like Claire Danes in Homeland, where she's got the cork board with all the stuff that she has been saving.
And she's right.
Okay, let's have a conversation now about the Seer twist, because this is introduced at the challenge. Now, I'm going to be a little bit careful with how we talk about this, just because this Seer twist was on the UK season that aired earlier this year. I know not everybody has seen it. So I'm not going to talk about it through that lens because I don't want to spoil anything there.
No.
However, I will just talk about the idea of the Seer twist in itself, which basically allows somebody, whoever ends up getting this, to be able to then have a meeting with somebody and figure out whether or not this person is a faithful or a traitor. I hate this twist with every fabric of my being. It is way too powerful at this point in the game. I understand there's like a luck component to it where, you know, maybe you don't get that much information, but what if you get a ton of information, you completely break the end of the game, all for just winning one challenge that in this particular instance, there was a heavy luck component to as well.
Yeah, I hate this twist as well. Same, I'm not going to spoil what happened on another version of the show, but I didn't like it there. I don't like it here. It's so overpowered. It's the coup de Jeff all over again on Big Brother. Like, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's like you spend all this time playing this fighting video game, you beat the video game, and then you have the ability to play as the final boss in any sort of like 1-versus-1 showdown with your friends, but that final boss is so much stronger than any other character in the game, and you're always going to win. It's just, it is such a huge slanted advantage. It doesn't need to be there. My feeling is because they instituted this late game rule now where once you hit a certain point, you're not going to be able to know who is a traitor or who is a faithful. They were like, okay, we need to find a way to balance this out in some other way. We're going to introduce this other twist. And I'm just hoping that this is sort of a one-time twist, sort of like the medallion of power that they introduced in Survivor, which was really stupid and they got rid of it really, really quickly.
Yeah, I just feel like they introduced this twist and they introduced this whole like we're not going to reveal who anybody is anymore because it felt like, to me at least, we've seen a lot of different international versions. I haven't seen the Canadian, but I've seen all the rest of them where it feels like faithfuls win more than they don't. And that makes sense in a lot of ways. Like the traitors do have a lot of power that they can pick people off, but there's just so many more faithfuls than there are traitors that it's like 2 or 3 people playing against 20. Like it's very difficult for faithfuls not to lose. So they needed to balance it out just a little bit more to make it that traitors would be able to win.
Okay, so who do we all think actually got this power? I mean, let us know your theories in the comments. I will present mine at this very moment.
All right, let's go.
So it was pretty clear, at least in the first couple of phases of this challenge, that Danielle and Brittany did have a pretty comfortable lead on a lot of the other people. Not everybody, but they were in good standing. I kind of feel like in this particular situation, one of them probably has it. And if you are one of them at this point, you're probably just like, okay, we just need to go ahead and use this on somebody who we kind of already trust, so we don't really rock the boat. We don't create any sort of chaos and paranoia. Like, if I'm one of them and I end up getting this power, I'm probably just thinking, okay, you know what? I'm just going to use it on Dolores because, you know, she's an obvious faithful in the first place, but that will earn further trust, especially if she already kind of likes you and wants to work with you anyway. So it's just a pretty easy solution that you can make. And I kind of also feel like, in a weird way, maybe that does influence what happens over the rest of the episode, this notion that one of them may end up having that power.
I think it's also would be a risk, but it could be helpful if, let's say, Danielle has it and she's able to bring in someone like Ivar. Because he's so suspicious, but he's so easily swayed in a lot of ways. We even saw it in this episode. He did eventually go back to Danielle, but while he was talking to Dylan, he came in, he was like, yeah, it's Danielle. And by the end of the conversation, he's like, I don't know, maybe it's not. I'm like, oh my God. But I feel like bringing in someone that you're not close to kind of be like, listen, we're not close. I just need to know, like, please tell me that you're a faithful sort of thing. I am. Okay, great. Then, everything's going to be great.
Can I spend a minute or two dunking on Ivar? I have 2 moments that are really bringing me great comedic joy.
Okay.
Number 1, him being like, I don't really do the strategy thing. And I'm just sitting here.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. But why are
so
you
bad at it?
Why are you here? We're almost at the end of the season and you're sitting here being like, I don't do the strategy thing. And then later, it's mentioned, oh, you're bro. He's like, oh, let's not bring this into it. It's like, once again, Ivar, this is the only reason that you are here. It is like, Danielle, you are a great Big Brother player. Oh, let's not bring that in. Danielle, you're here because you were a great Big Brother player.
Yeah, Boston Drop tried something like that earlier as well, where he was just like, oh, I'm being based on my gameplay history. Yes, that's why you're on the show. You're here because you're a legend and everybody knows your gameplay history. Everybody knows everybody's gameplay history who has one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're going to be judged on it, so stop.
Yeah. Ivar, speaking of delusional players, you are very high on that list right now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as we start to progress to talking about this very weird and twisty and complicated vote, I'm kind of thinking here, because it was surprising, honestly, to me when we saw the vote and we saw that Danielle and Brittany all of a sudden were jumping on board this Ivar train. They really pushed for Gabby going into the round table. My guess is that they knew they weren't going to have any of the votes for Gabby other than the 2 of them. Yeah. They must have known that Dolores was going to cast this vote for Ivar.
Yes.
And then if one of them did have the Seer or thinks they have the Seer or whatever else is going on there, if they just know they perform well and they're planning potentially, if they have it, to just burn it on Dolores, they're like, okay, we need to build more trust with her. Let's just go with her. She'll feel good about us. We can potentially get Ivar out, and we just need one more person to go along with it.
I think the minute that they knew that she was going to be going for Ivar because she was not committing to Gabby, she's like, we'll see what comes about. But, you know, I'm really feeling kind of Ivar, but I'm also going to listen to what Gabby has to say. I think they just knew that they didn't have her. And it's all a numbers game. They're both Big Brother players. They know that it's about the numbers. So if they knew they didn't have the numbers and they're like, okay, well, it's the West game, not me. As long as it's not me, I don't care who it is. That they're both like, okay, well, we'll just vote with Dolores. It doesn't matter who goes home as long as it's not me.
They just didn't have that much of another choice that's out there because, you know, Ivar made it clear what was going to happen. Dylan was sort of very much riding the fence in some of his conversations, though he did have this chat with Danielle where he was just like, just so you know, I'm going to try to make this move. And Danielle, once again, you know, I love you. You're doing the most in this game. You are acting as though Dylan has just committed the greatest betrayal known to mankind.
Listen, it's a gameplay and it does work. We've seen it on Big Brother work as well with Vanessa. You can really emotionally play a game and play on people's emotions. It works.
Vanessa, I know you're watching this video.
Later.
I know you are. I actually know nothing, but I know that you are a big fan of the Traitors. Please go on the next season of the Traitors.
Oh, that would be so good.
It would be so unbelievably fun. But yeah, I can never hate Danielle for the way that she's playing this game. I know it irks some people, but she's going full tilt all the time. But kudos, once again, to Dylan, who I do think at this point, if Dylan does end up being a winner or the co-winner of this season, I'm going to say he might be the best faithful winner we have ever seen on the Traitors. I'm going to say it right now.
Oh, wow. All right.
I just think he has been locked in strategically. Yes, he slurped a lot of the Boston Rob Kool-Aid. I'm well aware of that. But he always played. It never felt like he took a back seat at any point in the game.
100%. I agree. Yes, he was a Boston Rob sheeple for a little while there. But it was maybe part of gameplay. I was a little bit blinded. It doesn't matter. It got him further in the game to the point then that he was able to start really taking the blinders off. I think the fact that Boston Rob ended up being a traitor was the thing that turned things in a different direction for him, where he was like, can't do that again. He's a very quick learn in the game, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that too. And I also appreciate the idea that people are probably thinking a lot more about various moves than we've seen on the show. We presented this as a tinfoil hat in the past, that maybe some people thought that Danielle was a traitor the majority of the season, and they might not have just been voting to get rid of her because they wanted to save her for a little bit of the end game. But I think we are getting to this point in the season now where even if you want to save Danielle for that final vote in front of the fire, you want to make sure you get there at the same time. And it's a big risk to lose anybody at this point, especially Ivar, where if you're Dylan, you know with every fabric of your being that that guy is not a traitor.
That's the thing about this. It feels like it's very obvious, maybe Gabby, that maybe she could be a traitor, but it's very obvious that the rest of them are faithfuls.
Yes.
And it feels like if Brittany has voted to get out Danielle, Brittany's in trouble. I feel like they will not think that there's no traitors left, that they will have probably brought in somebody else. And if Danielle has brought in anybody, that only person is going to be Brittany. So it just feels like we are going to be seeing a faithful win at the end of this. And I do think that it's probably at this point going to be Dylan and Ivar. I don't think that Dylan or Ivar are going to take the girls to the end. I think they're just really tight. They've been tight for a long time, and they're just like, yeah, we'll ride it to the end.
Ivar, if you win this game, this is basically you winning as though you passed a test because you looked ahead and saw what the person in front of you was writing down on their sheet.
That's right.
It will drive me insane. Ivar, you will you will be the greatest winner for the least amount of actual achievements in the history of the Traitors. You are the opposite of Dylan.
Yeah, you will be the greatest floater to the end, but Dylan will earn it,
Yeah.
and I won't be mad if he wins.
Okay, let's just try to break down this tiebreaker situation here for a while, because I get really confused. And Jess said this earlier. We've watched a lot of international versions of this show, and we've seen tiebreakers before, but I still kind of get confused as to what's actually happening. So here is what Alan said verbatim once it was a deadlocked vote. And forgive me for looking a little bit over here at my notes, but it is, if afterwards it remains a tie, your fate will be decided by chance. And he is saying this specifically to Danielle and Ivar. And
Bring out the rocks.
well, that's why this is important to me, because if this was a Survivor sort of situation where he was just like, if it remains a tie, then everyone's vote will be decided by chance, or it's directly like Survivor where it was like, okay, Danielle and Ivar, you two are now immune and everybody else is at risk. Like, that really inspires chaos. But
Yes.
based on exactly what Alan is saying here, this is a situation where if there is another tie vote, then it'll just be a random chance where either Danielle or Ivar ends up getting banished.
Yeah, which is how it should be.
Yeah. Ideally, it's how it should be. The Survivor rock thing, I guess it works for Survivor. Traitors doesn't want, you shouldn't just copy Survivor on the Traitors.
Yeah, I hate the rocks.
So, okay, here is where things get very, very interesting then, because we have just 4 people who are casting a vote in this tiebreaker.
Right.
We have Brittany, Dolores,
Yes.
Gabby, Dylan.
Right.
Those are the 4 people. If you are Brittany in this situation, and you can't change your mind once you write everything down, everybody writes everything down at the same time so that it's fair, you already know, okay, so Dylan's going to cast his vote this way because it's what he did previously. Gabby's going to cast the vote this way. So really, at this point, if you're Brittany, you are banking on what is Dolores going to do with her vote at this juncture.
Yeah, and obviously we had the edit of her kind of like look at Danielle and look at Brittany and give her the nod, and she's like, oh my God. I think for Brittany, because of the past that she has with Danielle, and because she wants to leave this show friends, and friendship matters as much as money on this show anyways. If you already think you're not really going to win, or you already think that Danielle's going to go, it just doesn't matter. Like, she doesn't end up, for me, necessarily looking like a traitor, because everybody knows what their beef was. Everybody knows that they buried the hatchet. Everybody knows that they have built a friendship at this point. It is what it is. So if Brittany's just like, I can't betray her again. This already happened over here. I can't let it happen here. There's an actual friendship here. I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, well, then of course you're a traitor because you threw away the vote. Everybody throws away their vote. We have seen that happen so many times. Michelle voted for Tom every single round table because she just doesn't like him, right? So why can't it be the opposite, where Brittany's just like, yeah, of course I'm going to not put down Danielle. We're friends and we just had this beef and I'm done with that beef, and money's not more important than this friendship. Sorry for your luck.
Yeah, there's what I think Brittany should do and what I think Brittany will do. I think Brittany should just go ahead and continue to cast this vote for Ivar, because there is that chance that you're going to get the vote with Dolores, which we know in this instance she would have. She doesn't know that when she's writing it down. So you have that chance. And if you find a way to have Danielle stay in this instance, then you have yourself, Danielle, Dolores. That's 3 people. That's a pretty big controlling majority. And like, this is even the really smart logic Dylan brings up when he's showing his vote, which is just that if I don't get rid of you here, I know there are other people who won't vote to get rid of you.
That's right.
You're going to win the game, which smart cookie you, Dylan. I will give you props for that. So there's just a big reason for Brittany to want to do this. And then plus, of course, the friendship angle you're mentioning, the feeling of, okay, I don't want to do this to Danielle again after what happened with Reindeer Games. But what I think she is going to do is I think she is going to vote to get rid of Danielle, because she's going to think that Dolores was going to vote this way. She doesn't want to stand out, and she probably just thought herself to death, and then this is going to happen.
Yes, that's what I think is going to happen. Instead of Brittany just taking the minute, because we've seen this on so many other versions of the show where, everybody's supposed to write at the same time, but you always see people taking that minute where they put the chalk down and they look at whoever it
Yeah.
is that they very specifically need to know what their vote is
Yeah.
to see what kind of letters they're writing before they cast their vote. I've seen it a million times on this show. She just needed that 1 second, 2 seconds to see if she was going to write I or D.
Yeah, there's just, Brittany, there's something else you could have done in this situation, I feel like. And this is just me assuming that you're going to get Danielle out, because also we had the classic reality TV edit on Danielle on this episode. And I think the edit's done Danielle dirty a number of times this season. I think
agree.
they've made her look more clueless than she is, or that she's playing really badly. She's made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but she has made it further than any original Traitor this season.
Yes.
But we've seen these confessionals where she's just like, Gabby, you're done. You're in danger. And she's just like so overconfident. That always happens before someone gets eliminated.
Absolutely. That is always part of it.
Let's just say all this and Brittany ends up actually voting to keep Danielle, and Danielle does stay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right move for Brittany, but
Yeah.
she might feel like she wants to protect herself as a traitor, and
Yeah.
who knows? These two could have had that conversation already
Yeah.
because they were running around the mansion trying to do what they could, and they may have actually just had that conversation of, listen, I know, Danielle, I know my name is out
Yeah.
there. If for whatever reason you really see that the votes are going towards me, I give you permission to be able to just get me out. You have to do that. You have to bring home the money. It has to be one of us. Either it's both of us at the end or it has to be one of us at the end. So we got to be okay with that. That happens.
It does happen. And regardless of what happens to Danielle, I'm glad she was on this show. I'm glad she brought us so much discussion
Yeah.
over the course of this season. But as we are looking ahead now to the end game, which is literally right around the corner
Yeah.
at this point, there's obviously the Seer thing that has to play out. But beyond all that, I'm going to make a case for Brittany here. And I know we can all come to the delusional ice cream parlor for a moment, because I am going to make the case that Brittany still has a chance of winning this, even if Danielle goes.
Bro, are you good?
Maybe not, but here is what I think could still happen. Brittany, if she loses Danielle, it is going to be detrimental to her. However, there is also still suspicion on Ivar because of this vote. And, Dolores still's going to think that Ivar may be a traitor. Like, that part of it is still out there. We know that Dylan was really suspicious of Danielle. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be suspicious of Brittany at this particular point. If there was enough seeds planted against Gabby, maybe there's still a chance that you can get rid of Gabby. Now, this does not guarantee that Brittany wins the show, but I do think there is a path for Brittany to at least be at the fire at the end of this season. She might not win at that point, but if she is there with Dolores and Dolores really has her back, then there could at least be something interesting that is happening. And I think we're going to have a really interesting end to this season.
I think it's going to be tough to break up Ivar and Dylan. Like, if you don't break them up now or right after this, it's going to be very difficult. And then there's also the Seer twist, and who knows what that's going to bring, right? That twist brings in all kinds of different ideas and discussions and all kinds of other things. So it's such a wild card. It's hard to talk about it without talking about it.
I know.
But it's such a wild card that it can change really everything.
So right now, though, if I'm just going to take all of my personal biases, shove them out the door for a moment, and just talk about who I think are the actual two best players this season right now. Number one is Dylan, and I don't think it's really even that close if I'm just thinking in terms of consistency, because Brittany didn't really do a whole lot the first half of this season. Number two is Gabby. The only weakness, the only weakness I have, and I know Gabby is your girl at this point.
She's so smart.
She is really smart, and I really like Gabby. She was really fun on Dancing with the Stars too, which, as some of you know, I'm probably way too invested in the majority of the time. But the only weakness I see in Gabby is, this was even called out, she invested, I think, too much time in her little friend group at the start of the season, and I don't think she got a big enough panoramic view of everybody else, but she has proven to be very smart, very intuitive. The fact that she held on to that scene with Danielle in the library where we were sitting here and we thought after that cliffhanger, like, oh, she really didn't actually hear anything and the editors just completely fooled us. They fooled us again. They double fooled us.
She's so smart. She's collected her information and she's using it at the right time. Like, it just, the votes weren't really there for Danielle at other times.
Yeah.
They are here now. She is using everything that she's been collecting this whole time.
Yeah.
And I loved the back and forth with the two of them as well. At one point where, she's just kind of like, I am smart. I do think that I'm smart. Like, I don't think I'm over here being like doop 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 doop. Like,
Yeah.
I know that I'm smart. I've laid out my argument clearly, and it's you.
Yeah, I just think she is very, very smart. It has been really impressive watching her. I think this was a great episode. I think in terms of strategy, for those of you who are big time strategy nerds, like there's just so much interesting scenarios and stuff to talk through here.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but of course, let us know in the comments, what do you think Brittany is going to do? What do you think Brittany should do? And who are you rooting for to win at the end of the season? Also, hit that subscribe button for Jess's 50th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Help us get closer to 70,000. Also, check out our Survivor 48 premiere review. We're going to be here for that all season, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We're covering there exclusively the Pit on Max, Prime Target on Apple TV+. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.